Hello and welcome to Portimao for the Esr Enduro race. This is, I want to say this is the final round of the Enduro Championship. I had not been paying attention to it. My apologies if there are additional rounds. And I don't really know how the championship is working out in terms of who's alive, who's not. But I am Mike Magasevich and I'm here to give you 90 minutes of commentary solo. So if you hear me take a drink during this, I think it's pretty understandable. Just saying, I think so. I could be wrong on that, but it's going to be a bit of a dry mouth kind of day. So if you hear me taking a beverage drink, like so, I apologize. I am also attempting a new audio setup here. I've lengthened the, or I've heightened the noise gate on my microphone and also positioned it differently. It doesn't sound appreciably different to me, but it should get rid of some of the background information. Hopefully it isn't cutting off any of the commentary though, so let me know what you think about that. And I can either continue with this setup or go back to the old one. It's entirely up to what the audience wants. After all, I am going to enjoy listening to myself talk either way. So we're here at Portimao, which, just an aside, is one of my favorite tracks in the world. And I was really happy when I noted that Raceroom had it for free. It's challenging in every way, lots of height differentials, lots of different turns, high speed, low speed, heavy braking, light braking. It challenges the car in every way. And we're hearing some GT3s that are going to probably flourish in the challenge. I think cars to look out for are the Audis. You can see a double Audi front row there. That I think has more to do with the drivers than the car, but I think it is one of the cars to be in at this particular track, as well as anything that has a high level of grip like that. McLaren's come to mind, as well as BMW Z4s are surprisingly competitive here, considering it's an out-of-date car. But here we go, 1.5 hours. We're going to be looking at one pit stop on pole. It's Cesar Maragna from I apologize if I don't know anyone's name. Jacoli, Walby, Quatos is in 4th place or 5th place. And we are off. And it looks like Cesar Maragna has gotten the best start of the bunch. At the back of the pack, it is Luca Gray and John Pachea bringing up the rear in the Corvette and the Mustang, respectively. They head through the first turn, heading to the uphill section. Jorgen Walby has made up a spot off of the start, passing Esr Jacoli's Audi there. He's in the blue Audi. The red Audi belongs to Cuesta Gomez, I believe is his name. Again, 4 Audis in the top 10. And here comes Esr down the inside of Jorgen Walby to take back 4th position, or 3rd position. Fantastic driving from the Audi driver. It is indeed Alvar Gomez Cuesta in 5th position, followed by Chris Ramaker, and I don't know the name of the guy behind him. I apologize. And that is Butler Stokes rounding off the top 10. Stokes now ahead of Butler, and someone else is in the mix there whose name I do not know at this time. It will get better as this goes on. I tend to remember names once I have seen them. Alvar Gomez Cuesta is on the charge, looking to make this a top 4 Audi, and there are some guys having some issues in the corner there. Chris Raymaker is right behind them, and then it is a BMW of I do not know the name of him. Tyre Mali is on the attack. If I'm saying that wrong, please let me know. Against Cesar Maragna in the battle for the top spots. Esr Jacoli is dropping slightly back in 3rd place, with Jorgen Walby, Alvar Gomez Cuesta, and Chris Raymaker for company. And there's a BMW hanging on the back of that. The top 7 have definitely kind of gotten away a little bit. Wesley Stokes in back, are a little further back. Wesley Stokes there in the Bentley. A bit odd to see him in that. He's traditionally been more of a finesse driver than the brute force that is the Bentley. We continue on here with Alvar Gomez Cuesta is the man we ride on board with. He's looking to get past Jorgen Walby. Plenty of time left here, though. 1:27 to go, and things are pretty close. I'd say anyone in the top 7 right now is in a position to potentially win the race, and we'll see how it goes. We don't have anyone completely flying backwards, which is good. Magnus Sternby is now at the back of the pack in the Mercedes. Interesting. Let's see here. What cars do we have? We have Mercedeses. We have the Audi R8, of course. We have the McLaren 650S. We have the BMW M6. I believe it's just BMW M6s, although there are other BMWs in the field. James Butler under a fair bit of pressure there. for 9th position in the Porsche. I'm a little surprised there aren't more Porsches. The Porsche is a very strong car around this circuit. Alvaro Gomez Cuesta is still in 5th place and putting the pressure on Jürgen Walby. Dropping back a little bit there is the BMW, whose name we have yet to pick up on. Taha Mali is on the tail of Cesar Morano, giving him a lot of trouble. And it looks like Alvaro Cuesta, or Gomez Cuesta, has gotten around Jürgen Walby, so it is a top 4 for the Audi team. Fantastic work. The Audi R8 is a super strong car around this track. Not unbeatable by any means. Credit to the drivers where it is due. They're doing a fantastic job right now. But that is definitely one of the upper end cars for this track. As I was saying, I believe we have just BMW M6s, but there may be some Z4s in the field. We also have some Porsche 911s in the field as well. And, of course, the Corvette of Luca Gray, the Mustang of John Pacheco. Everything else is pretty simple. Felipe Fajea is dropped to the back along with Lachlan Nichols and Ariel Zatoni and Magnus Sternby, Rick Martel, and Andy Blade bringing up the rear. In the meantime, things continue to keep going here with the top 7 pulling away a little bit. Wesley Stokes in the background there in the Bentley in 8th position. Chris Raymaker is, looks like Cesar Morano made a mistake, and it's letting Taha Mali into the lead. I want to believe that's a Moroccan flag there, driver. And Visar Gicoli is also on the attack against Cesar Morano. The top 3 are pulling away a little bit from Alvaro Gomez Cuesta, who is in 4th position there in the red and black Audi, leading the Mercedes of Jürgen Walby and the McLaren of Chris Raymaker. Pressure is still on for Cesar Morano, and a little bit of contact between Visar Gicoli and Cesar Morano. No change of position. Looks like the car of Morano is okay, but we'll have to keep an eye on his rear end, which did take a little bit of a bump there. Visar Gicoli is trying to put the pressure on. We are 5 minutes into the race and still have a long way to go with 85 of the 90 minutes remaining. The top 6 are really starting to get away and leaving that BMW in 7th place a little bit back there. Then a gap back to Wesley Stokes, who has a gap back to James Butler. And the top 10 is currently being rounded off by HAN. Who would that be? We will find out eventually, but I do not know at the moment. Martin Edmonds is in 11th place, and Wesley Stokes has picked up a spot, so I believe a mistake by the BMW driver. He is dropping back through the field. James Butler has also passed him. Edmonds has passed him. Yeah, he's made a huge mistake. Where he's gone off for sure. He's got to be way off the track. McGracken is through. Luca Gray is through. Andy Blade is through. Let's see if he can rejoin ahead of John Pacheco, who's in 18th place in the Mustang. Cesar Morano still trying to put the pressure back on Taha Mali. And in the background, you see Visar Gicoli, Alvaro Cuesta Gomez, Gomez Cuesta, who's up on the tail there, and Jürgen Walby. Chris Raymaker has dropped back just a little bit, but he is still within the shot. We ride with Martin Edmonds, who is fighting with, I believe that is Phil Hance, in the McLaren 650S, taking on the Mercedes AMG. Martin Edmonds, a bit of an odd car choice now that I think about it for Martin Edmonds, who also is traditionally more of a finesse kind of guy. Going with a very powerful car here. Visar Gicoli trying to keep the pressure on against Cesar Morano, which is playing into the hands of the leader Taha Mali, who's able to get a little bit of breathing room, although there is plenty of time to go. These 4 Audis do appear to be solidly the class of the field, although Jürgen Walby in the Mercedes in 5th place is still in the shot there. Chris Raymaker is dropping back. Wesley Stokes has dropped back. James Butler, Phil Hansen, Martin Edmonds are rounding off your top 10. Alvaro Gomez Cuesta looking to get up a little bit further. He had slipped to 5th place early in the race. I do believe he qualified in the top 4. Was passed at the start by Jürgen Walby, but has since gotten past him. Is looking like he might be the most feisty and fastest of the Audis right now, with a chance to make up some serious ground here. I mean, he's within striking distance of the lead. It does not take much, and there are a number of places where a potential mistake can occur. Like right there, Visar Gicoli has gotten into Cesar Morano, and Alvaro Gomez Cuesta has moved up into 2nd place. Cesar is going to rejoin ahead of Visar, who looks like he allowed him through. And it's also going to be Jürgen Walby moving up into 4th place in the Mercedes. And possibly an attack from Chris Raymaker in the McLaren there. The rather plain-looking McLaren 650S in the orange, or the sunburnt car there, I guess is the color I'm going to go with. Martin Evans, in the meantime, has moved up to 9th place, passing Phil Hance. We will see if Visar can make up for his contact with Cesar Morano by quickly getting past Jürgen Walby. And, of course, he'll want to go back on the attack against Cesar Morano and this time make a clean pass. The big winner of the whole bunch, though, is Alvar Gomez Cuesta, who moves up from 4th into 2nd place. And Taha Mali is a big winner because he's now got a 3.1 second lead, which is the largest lead he has had. By the way, falling back, it's Ariel Zatoni, Lachlan Nichols, and Magnus Sternby, who appear to have had problems. They are now 55 plus seconds off the lead. And Phil Hance dropping to the back. Something has happened to the British McLaren driver. He was running in the top 10 before that incident, whatever it is, or off, or possibly just a transponder error with the connection being bad. We'll see if that straightens itself out. But Visar Jacoli still looking to go on the attack here. He has dropped 2 spots, having been passed by Alvar Gomez Cuesta and by Jürgen Walby. But he definitely has, I think, possibly race winner pace here today, doing very well. Darius Zevin, who was the BMW driver we were talking about earlier, putting the pressure on Andy Blade and making a move through. He is now going to target Luca Gray in the Corvette ahead of him, as well as the Audi of Mike McGracken, the green and black Audi there. Andy Blade will look to go back on the attack. We know that the Audis are strong. It's shown by the fact that there was at one point a top 4 entirely made of Audis. In the meantime, it's fairly settled right now. Jürgen Walby is on the attack. He really needs to get through because I feel like Visar Jacoli is licking his chops to get through. And Cesar Morano, after a really good start to the race, appears to have maybe suffered some damage from that contact, maybe having some slight problems. In the meantime, Luca Gray is getting pretty physical with the Mercedes of, I believe that is Gonzalez. And that could end in tears, and Gray's going to drop back behind Gonzalez and behind the BMW of Darius Zaya. And now he is fighting with the Audi of Andy Blade, with Rick Martel's Porsche in relatively close attendance as well. Cesar Morano looking to get back past Cuesta, making the move. Nothing really on there. This is a very interesting turn here that you can get very easily very wrong and also make up a lot of ground in as well. Jacoli is putting the pressure on Jürgen Walby, the top non-Audi, and Chris Raymaker has also been a big beneficiary of this. He's actually really right back in this hunt for second place when he looked like he was drifting back a little bit. And I said Cuesta was probably the biggest winner of this group. Taha Mali might be the biggest winner of this group. He's now up 4.5 seconds. And Cuesta is a little bit slow out of that corner. Cesar Morano on the attack. We are used to seeing him in a Bentley in the Winter Invitational. He is in an Audi here today, though. And can't make the move yet, and is still in danger from Jürgen Walby, Visar Jacoli, and Chris Raymaker. This 2nd through to 6th group is where the action certainly is, although further back there are also some pretty good battles going on right now. The 11th through to about 15th area is pretty impressive as well, with McGracken to Andy Blade being very, very close together. In the meantime, it looks like Cesar Morano has gotten it up the inside and into 2nd place again, but Alvar Gomez Cuesta is going to take him back here in the 2nd sector. Can Cuesta maintain the lead over the Portuguese driver? Portugal versus Spain, a classic rivalry. And it looks like Cesar Morano is going to win out at least for now. And Jürgen Walby is sticking his nose in the fight as well for Mercedes. Visar Jacoli and Chris Raymaker just watching, maybe hoping for a little bit of action. Someone is dropping back, and that is James Butler, who appears to have gone off the track at some point and has dropped out of the top 10 down to 15th position. Meantime, battle for the last top 10 spot going on there between Darius Zaya and Mike McGracken. Mercedes or BMW versus Audi. Giacoли is in a stern fight with Jürgen Walby, and he is through. Chris Raymaker is also in this mix as well, but that's 4th place back to the Audi of Esr Giacoli. The top 4 is once again all Audi. In the meantime, at the front, Taha Mali is flying away with it now. He's up almost 7 seconds over Cesar Maragna, who is in 2nd position. Top 10 rundown is Mali, Maragna, Cuesta, Giacoli, Walby, Raymaker, Stokes, Edmonds, Barker, and Zaya. Followed by McGracken, Gray, Blade, Gonzalez, Butler, Martel, I don't know, Felipe Vejea, Lachlan Nichols, Magnus Sternby, John Pache, and it looks like we have at some point lost Ariel Zatoni, as well as we already knew there were some problems for Phil Hance earlier on. Giacoli again having some contact issues with one of the cars, and this time it was Alvar Gomez Cuesta who's going to drop back down to 5th position. And he was a big winner of Visar's prior, maybe poorly judged attempt to make a pass on Chris Ray or on Cesar Maragna, and may have been the victim in this case as the fight goes on, and Chris Raymaker shoulders his way into the top 5 for the first time in that McLaren 650S, surpassing Alvar Gomez Cuesta, who drops back down to 6th position. Meantime, Jürgen Walby now under attack from Chris Raymaker, but would like to also attack Visar Giacoli. He's got to balance his aggression with his defensive driving as well. In the meantime, Cesar Maragna is opening up a gap to this group and kind of solidifying that 2nd position, although some 7.5 seconds off of the lead position still. Contact between Chris Raymaker and Jürgen Walby, and Alvar Gomez Cuesta says thank you very much and moves back into 4th position. Raymaker rejoins in 5th ahead of Jürgen Walby. I don't know, well, rejoin is perhaps not the correct word. I don't believe the 2 cars went off the track, but a little bit of side-by-side contact, and Walby is now back on the attack against Chris Raymaker. But Raymaker is going to have the advantage through this like twistier section that is coming up, although Walby will have the advantage in straight line grunt. The Mercedes is a very powerful car. In the meantime, this has allowed Cesar Maragna and Visar Giacoli to kind of secure, solidify, establish their podium positions for the time being. In the meantime, Jürgen Walby will continue to try to attack Chris Raymaker for 5th place and best of the now Audis. John Barker on the attack, actually driving the same car as Mr. Giacoli. Martin Edmonds and him are lapping John Pachea, who is down a lap, as is, I believe, Magnus Sternby may also be at this point as well, although it does not appear that that is the case. The gap is getting close, though. Pachea down a lap, as well as the retired cars of Zatoni and Phil Hance. Jürgen Walby still trying to find his way around the McLaren of Chris Raymaker, and he may have something on here as he gets the inside line into turn 2, and indeed is going to shove his way past into the uphill section, back into 5th place for Jürgen Walby. Still under pressure, though, from Chris Raymaker. Meantime, looks like there's a fierce battle going on between Luca Gray and Mike McGracken over 11th position. We've seen Gray come up from the back of the grid and have a pretty astounding display of pace, and we know he is also a very scrappy driver. Speaking of which, here we go. We go right to the action. McGracken is now trailing Luca Gray. John Pache off in the side there. Andy Blade looking to make a move down the inside of his fellow Canadian, and does. That's 12th place for Blade, down to 13th for McGracken, who will now have to deal with James Butler, who showed excellent pace early on and has dropped back a little bit since. John Barker still trying to put the pressure on Martin Edmonds. These two are catching Chris Raymaker, who must have gone off the track. Raymaker is down. In the meantime, pressure on against James Butler, courtesy of Yoel Gonzalez, who is putting the pressure on, or Javi Gonzalez. I do not know how to pronounce that name. Let me know if you know. And they are trying to put some pressure also on the Audi of Mike McGracken, who has dropped back a couple spots, losing spots to Lucas Gray and Andy Blade over the course of the last lap or two. And now is under tremendous pressure from James Butler and from Gonzalez. We ride with Chris Raymaker, who has dropped back behind Wesley Stokes, gone off the track at some point because he was right up there with Jürgen Walby, who you can see is now over 10 seconds behind. and is going to have to worry about the charging Martin Edmonds and John Barker, who are in 8th and 9th position. And he is going to have to worry about fighting with the Bentley of Wesley Stokes. The honor of being top American also at stake here as Raymaker makes the move on Stokes. Cesar Morano appears to have a transponder issue, but he is running in 2nd position. Wesley Stokes is getting a drive down on the inside of Chris Raymaker. Can he hold it? He can! And the Bentley is back ahead of the McLaren 650S, the battle of great British marks, although technically the McLaren being more of a oceanic mark, but is of course famous in Formula 1 for being largely managed by the British. Esr Enduro is on the attack against Cesar Morano, who had gotten away, but doesn't seem to have quite the pace that he did that secured him a front row start. Jacoli is back on the attack, and I think Alvar Gomez Cuesta is also closing in on them. In the meantime, Taha Mali is well in the lead still. Battle continues between Stokes and Raymaker, with Edmonds and Barker fighting just behind them. Darius Zaya running more or less on his own in 10th place, ahead of Luca Gray, Andy Blade, Mike McGracken, James Butler, Gonzalez, Martel, and then someone whose name I do not know, unfortunately, and Philippe Fahea, as well as Lachlan Nichols and Magnus Sternby on the lead lap. It looks like we may have lost John Pachea, who is listed in 22nd place despite being only 2 laps down, as opposed to Ariel Zatoni's 6 laps down. Must be some kind of scoring glitch at the moment. Chris Raymaker putting the pressure back on the Bentley of Wesley Stokes. Looking to go up the inside, heading into the turn here. This is where he got the advantage over Jurgen Walby some time ago, and is quickly coming under pressure from Martin Edmonds and John Barker. So he's got to make a move pretty soon if he actually wants to get through here. Meantime, Esr Enduro putting the pressure on Cesar Morano, trying to show that maybe he can go and make Taha Mali earn this victory a little bit more, as Mali is now 8 seconds up the road. Martin Edmonds looking to make a charge here, and John Barker wouldn't mind making his own move, as Stokes has become a little bit of a trolley train here from 6th down to 9th position. We ride with Martin Edmonds in the Mercedes as he tries to put the pressure on Chris Raymaker. A little bit squirrely there, and that's going to let Raymaker, at least for now, off the hook. Feels like Raymaker is the faster guy, but just cannot make a move stick on the Bentley of Wesley Stokes. Esr Enduro putting the pressure on Cesar Morano. This battle continuing at the moment, as looks like Gonzalez has gone off and is slipping back relatively rapidly in his Mercedes. He is now behind Felipe Fahea. Jurgen Walby in a battle trying to put the pressure on again Alvar Gomez Cuesta, trying to break up the Audi party at the front of the pack, and it looks like he may just do it. He's got the inside run in this corner, which turns into the inside run in the next corner. I don't see how Cuesta is able to defend, and indeed he does see the corner and the position to the Mercedes of Jurgen Walby. We are approaching 1/3 distance in this race, with about 68 minutes to go of the original slated 90. Alvar Gomez Cuesta trying to make a comeback, though. Audi versus Mercedes, and it looks like he is through, although the cameraman is left for this battle between Chris Raymaker, Wesley Stokes, and Martin Edmonds. It is a 3-way battle for 6th position, with John Barker just on the back of that in the blue Audi. But we do return to the battle for 4th position. Alvar Gomez Cuesta has been held off for now by Jürgen Walby, and these two are drifting back now some 5 seconds behind the third place car of Esr Enduro. They're also lapping, I believe that is Magnus Sternby in the background in the Mercedes. Gonzalez, I think, is possibly out of this race as he is listed as behind Ariel Zatoni, suggesting a potential retirement from the Mercedes driver. Although his gap doesn't suggest that he is still running. Interesting timing error, perhaps, as also Zatoni is somehow ahead of John Pacheco, despite being 4 laps down to Pacheco's Mustang. Esr Enduro still putting the pressure on against Cesar Maragna for second position. These two have been pretty close together, pretty much battling the entire race, more or less. I mean, there was a little bit of contact earlier, which put Esr behind when he allowed Cesar Maragna to rejoin. But even then, they were quickly back on each other's tail. Luca Gray, Andy Blade, and James Butler in a battle for 11th position. As Luca Gray looks down the inside of Andy Blade and should be through in the Corvette. Beautiful pass by the Brit Luca Gray as he moves on to try to attack fellow countryman James Butler. Martin Edmonds is now up on the tail of Wesley Stokes. Have we lost Chris Raymaker? No, but he has dropped back to 10th position, so something definitely occurred to him. He was running in 7th and is now behind Edmonds, Barker, and Zaya. And Zaya in particular was really not particularly close to him, so it must have been a relatively major mistake. Esr Enduro is once again putting the pressure on Cesar Maragna, both of them having a little bit of a twitching moment there in their Audis. And another one for Esr. Looks like his front end may be a little too loose. Jürgen Walby in the background is still holding off Alvar Gomez Cuesta for 4th position. And that is Stokes leading this group that includes Martin Edmonds and John Barker. In the meantime, Andy Blade is retaking 12th position from Luca Gray. Martin Edmonds makes the move, and I believe he made it stick, but the cameraman cuts away at an inopportune time. Someone fire that man. Esr Enduro is on the tail of Cesar Maragna, and this battle I feel like is going to go more or less the entire race unless someone makes a mistake, because the pace is very close. Well, I don't know about that. I've said that, actually, the pace in the race of Cesar Maragna has not been overly impressive. He's been consistent and difficult to pass. In the meantime, John Barker is on the charge, trying to get past Wesley Stokes for 7th position. Another Audi on the charge. 5 Audis in the top 8, for those keeping track at home. 2 Mercedes and 1 Bentley. 1 BMW, 1 McLaren rounding off the top 10. Looks like I can probably confirm to you that we have lost Gonzalez, along with Ariel Zatoni, John Pacheco, and Phil Hance. Now Magnus Sternby, I believe, is still running despite being down a lap. Esr Enduro's attacks are starting to really open the door for Jürgen Walby, who is now only 2 seconds behind this group, and has managed to shovel away from Alvar Gomez Cuesta, Wesley Stokes, and Martin Edmonds exchanging positions. Edmonds retains 6th for now, but the Bentley is not dead despite dropping back a little bit throughout the race. Esr Enduro looking to go on the attack once again. Meantime, in the background, Mike McRacken making a move on Luca Gray, who is falling back. Also leaving spots to the BMW of RUE, as well as Rick Martel and Philippe Fehea, dropping down to 17th position. John Barker looking to take advantage of some things, and his livery mate Esr Enduro is also looking to make his move on Cesar Maragna. He knows he's losing ground. The car is behind him. Granted, there's a lot of time left, but you definitely don't want to lose track position if you can help it. And the imperative of getting past what seems like the slower Audi of Cesar Maragno is coming into play, I think, for Esr Enduro, the Albanian driver. As Jürgen Walby's car looms large, he's taken almost a half second out of these two on this lap. In the meantime, at the front, Taha Mali is now leading by about 10 seconds over Maragno. John Barker looking to make a move here on Wesley Stokes, trying to get up into 7th position. He's got the lead, but there is going to be very good drive out of this corner for the Bentley. And we cut away once again at a very inopportune time, but it does look like John Barker secured the position. And, well, I take that back, because Esr Enduro just bullied his way past Cesar Maragno into 2nd place. And Jürgen Walby is hunting them like a hungry shark. It is down to about 1 second between Maragno and Walby for that final podium position. So pressure is on, and it looks like John Barker has indeed seen off the challenge of Wesley Stokes, and far from having to defend, has gone on the attack and taken 6th place away from Martin Edmonds. But can Edmonds get him back? He's got the inside line for these next 2 turns, and that should make it relatively academic. Wesley Stokes is staying with the group, but has dropped back to 8th position. And in the meantime, Cesar Maragno has gotten his way back past Esr Enduro, and it is down to less than a second back to Jürgen Walby, who is on the charge, trying to end the dominance of the Audis. Luca Gray is the car ahead of them, about to be lapped. He has lost a spot to Lachlan Nichols by a fair amount, so it looks like he's had another moment or two. Esr Enduro up the inside, trying to make it stick, and does. That's been a popular overtaking location throughout this race. And Jürgen Walby is going to try his luck now against Cesar Maragno, the dominant man in the Division 2-3 races in the Winter Invitational between ESR and RLM. He's been absolutely dominant in his GT3 Bentley, but not showing quite the dominance here in the Audi, but putting up a very, very solid outing, currently in 3rd place. We are now over a third of the way through this race with almost 60 minutes still to go. The battle is fierce. John Barker looking to get past Martin Edmonds. He had briefly done it before, and it was actually right at this very same spot where Edmonds took it back. And it looks like Edmonds will hold it despite having the outside line through 2 turns there. Barker on the charge. We know he's got the car under him. Again, in human 5 Audis in the top 10 with Andy Blade in 11th place. And then Mike McRacken in 13th place. So the Audis are having a great showing right now. And they are coming up to traffic here between Cesar Maragno and Esr Enduro as they continue to battle it out for 2nd place. And it looks like Maragno has gone wide and will contact Jürgen Walby. Jürgen Walby, a little bit of an innocent bystander there that shakes things up considerably. Alvar Gomez Cuesta is going to move into 3rd place, keeping the all-Audi podium. Maragno rejoins in 4th ahead of Walby, so they are ahead of this battle between John Barker, Martin Edmonds, and Wesley Stokes. So they only lost the 1 position technically, but a huge mistake by Cesar Maragno to go wide like that and then rejoin the track in a somewhat unsafe manner that leads to a collision with the car of Jürgen Walby. John Barker now a little bit under the pressure there, and in the background, Darius Zaya and Chris Raymaker, who are actually both catching this trio, so this could be interesting. This could become a quintet before long. John Barker has gotten past Martin Edmonds into 6th place, and Wesley Stokes has also gotten past Martin Edmonds. Great job of opportunistic poaching from the Bentley driver as he looks to get back up the grid. Jurgen Walby is fresh off some contact with Cesar Moreno. He is on the attack, and they are now 6 to 7 seconds behind Alvar Gomez Cuesta and the podium, which is all out Audi with Taha Mali leading Visar Jacoli at the front of the pack. Wesley Stokes under pressure for Martin Edmonds, applying some pressure as well to John Barker. Good three-way fight here, but you feel like they might be better off just like kind of pack racing it a little bit, because they are being caught at a pretty alarming rate by Darius Zeha and Chris Raymaker, the 9th and 10th place cars, especially Raymaker, who is now only about 1.3, 1.4 seconds off the back of Darius Zeha and could be making his way up as well. Raymaker was part of the leading group until a incident that we did not capture on camera dropped him out of the battle for the top 7. And he would very much like to get back into this fight. Jurgen Walby still putting the pressure on Cesar Moreno. Wondering when the pit stops will occur. The answer is, I'm going to guess about a half hour remaining in the race, most likely. Will probably be where we start to look at people coming in for tires and also fuel. Tires being optional, of course, you are not required to change them, but we will see. Portimao is not the kindest tires, but it's not the rudest either. 19 cars of the 23 that started are still running. We have lost Ariel Zatoni, Gonzalez, John Pacheco, and Phil Hance over the course of this race. Magnus Sternby and Luca Gray have fallen down a lap as Wesley Stokes gets a little bit wide, and that's going to open up the door for Martin Edmonds to take back 7th place. Then, of course, basically lose control of the car, losing a spot to losing a spot to not only Stokes, but also Darius Zeha in the BMW and Chris Raymaker, who we've been talking about, carving his way back through the field. He is now up to 9th position. Edmonds dropping back to 10th. Fairly safely ahead of the battle between James Butler and Andy Blade. Raymaker on the attack against Darius Zeha for kind of the first time through here. It looks like he's going to get this job done pretty easily as well and move back into 8th position. The charge back through the field continues for Raymaker. Jurgen Walby, on the other hand, is a little bit stagnated. He can't seem to find a way past Cesar Moreno's Audi and into the top 4, but still running best of the non-Audis in 5th position. Blade all over the back of James Butler, and successfully makes his way through into 11th position. Jurgen Walby still on the charge, looking to make his way around the Audi of Cesar Moreno. James Butler looking to come back against the Audi of Andy Blade. The Audis being very hunted individuals on this particular lap. As we approach the 40-minute mark of this race, we are less than 10 minutes away from the halfway point where we may start seeing some pit lane action. Luca Gray recovering from a bit of a moment there as he gets lapped by Jurgen Walby and also by Cesar Moreno. Gray, Magnus Sternby, and I believe Lachlan Nichols have fallen down a lap at this point. James Butler looking to get back past Andy Blade. Porsche versus Audi. And Walby is still also on the hunt against Cesar Maragno. Visar Jacoli is cutting into the lead of Taha Mali, but it still stands at 9.3 seconds and doesn't appear to be in any immediate danger. They pull it well clear of Alvar Gomez Cuesta, who doesn't really have to worry about Maragno and Walby until they sort out this fight between them, I don't think. Again, John Barker has pulled away to a relatively safe distance in 6th place ahead of Wesley Stokes. Chris Raymaker is pressuring Stokes, then it is Darius Zeha under pressure from Martin Edmonds, who is still recovering from his earlier out-of-control moment. And then the battle we appeared in a couple of times between Andy Blade and James Butler. Jürgen Walby getting a little bit of the butt of one Cesar Maragno. Pressure still building for the Mercedes driver. Chris Raymaker on the charge against the Bentley of Wesley Stokes. Of course, these two cars vastly different in their handling characteristics and strengths. The Bentley being very much about the straight lines, and Raymaker's McLaren is very, very strong in the turns and is picking up a pretty massive tow here as well. You can see John Barker a little bit ahead in the Audi. Relatively safe, but if Raymaker can get through, we did see that Raymaker had definitively a top 6 potential car and just made a mistake or had some contact. We didn't get to see what happened to him when he dropped out of the top 10, but is now charging back up. Jürgen Walby still looking for a way around Cesar Maragno. Nothing doing as of yet. They are slowly reeling in Alvar Gomez Cuesta while they fight. So I thought Cuesta was relatively safe until they sorted it out, but it may not be. It may be a little bit of a case of similar to the battle we saw earlier for 6th position between Stokes, Barker, and Edmonds that allowed Raymaker and Zaya to catch up considerably. Walby looking to make a move here, maybe. Nah, nothing on here. Just riding in the wake of Maragno's Audi to this point. Very close though. Slight mistake from the Audi driver would definitely let him up into 4th position. In the meantime, it looks like Martin Edmonds has claimed Darius Zeha, and it looks like a transponder error for Lachlan Nichols has his position fluctuating. But I believe we can probably safely say that he is in 17th place, largely on his own, not particularly close to Philippe Vea or to Magnus Sternby, who are. It looks like we may have also lost Luca Gray at some point. He is now 2 laps down in his Corvette, and that doesn't seem to have likely happened unless he has come to a stop on track or in the pit lane. Darius Zeha dropping back like a fly. We were just talking about some good things about him, but he's lost spots to Martin Edmonds, Andy Blade, James Butler, Mike McGracken, his fellow BMW teammate there, Rick Martel is through. Maybe is he in the pits? Philippe Fehea is through. Is Darius Zeha in the pit lane? It'd be nice if we could get a shot on what's going on with the BMW driver. We are in the pit. It's a little bit early to be pitting. We still have over half of race to go. 48 minutes of the original 90 still to go, so only 42 minutes done on that fuel and tire combination. If indeed Darius Zeha is in the pits, and it looks like that's one of the few options at this point because he's now 20 seconds behind Philippe Fehea, and he'd be being lapped right about now by these cars. So I suspect the BMW is in the pit lane, and we just have not been privileged to view it. Chris Raymaker versus Wesley Stokes continues a battle for 7th position. They are looking to catch up to John Barker, who is behind Taha Mali. Mali has probably been in the pits as well, so Some guys are coming in early. I did not expect to see pit stops until at least the 45-minute mark, so probably 1 to 2 laps from now. But we are getting some early pit stops, and that would mean that they believe they can get better gas mileage in the second half of the race, or they're just coming in now because it's a good time. They think they have a good spot in the traffic. It's all possible. I mean, Taha Mali, for example, appears to have gotten out of the pits ahead of the slower cars like Andy Blade, Mike McRacken, James Butler. Looks like Butler may also be in the pit lane as well. Indeed, I think we can probably confirm that James Butler may also be in the pits. Esr Enduro has inherited the lead. He's up 10.5 seconds over Alvar Gomez Cuesta, and then it is the battle we've seen pretty frequently and are looking at right now between Cesar Maragna and Jürgen Walby, and they have indeed caught up to Gomez Cuesta. So the Audi of Gomez Cuesta is definitely in this fight. Chris Raymaker is now trying to tear it up against Wesley Stokes, and the pressure now is immense to the guys who are on the attack because we're seeing the pit stops come into play. So this is the time you really need to make your move and get some clean air, or pull off and head to the pit lane, because if you are losing time behind someone, this might be the time to go for the pits. We've seen theoretical pit stops from Taha Mali, from Darius Zaya, from James Butler, possibly others as well. And Raymaker is indeed going for it. He's going down the inside to turn 1. Can he do it? No, he cannot. Looks like there's actually a bit of damage on his front end, so that might explain the mystery of why he fell back earlier. Looks like he may have been into the back of somebody, or some really hard side-on contact. We are approaching the halfway mark here, so I expect to see some diving for the pits. Martin Edmonds appears to have gone down pit lane. Losing ground to Andy Blade and Mike McRacken there. Probably going to lose out on... Probably going to come out, I would hope, ahead of Darius Zeha. Is of course ahead of... Ah, here we are. We finally have our answer. Is Rudy Ruasel is the other BMW, and he is in the pit lane as well. Alvar Gomez Cuesta has gone off the track and is going to lose spots to Jürgen Walby and to Cesar Maragna. By the way, Walby at some point also got around Maragna, so he's up into second place. Big moment for the Mercedes driver. He needs to put the pedal to the metal now that he's got some clear air and absolutely just basically qualify lap this thing until he hits his pit stop, because he needs to make up some ground. Lachlan Nichols falling down a lap there as well. Into the pits goes Alvar Gomez Cuesta. Cesar Maragna is also in. So Jürgen needs to make a run. John Barker needs to make a run. Wesley Stokes needs to make a run. Chris Raymaker really needs to get past Wesley Stokes right now, because it has been pretty problematic for him. Cuesta and Maragna in the pits right now. Taha Mali will definitely come through against them. There he goes, up into 6th position. We'll see if Andy Blade can get there, but Andy Blade, of course, is not pitted. Mike McRacken is not pitted. Rick Martel is not pitted. Felipe Fahey is not pitted. Darius Zeha is the second highest ranked guy to have pitted. By the way, Martin Edmonds lost a lot of ground on the pit stop. Not only is he behind Zeha, but he's a couple of seconds behind. So I wonder if maybe he went and did some tires and Zeha's out there on the old rubber still. Again, tires are not mandatory, as Cesar Maragna heads out of the pits ahead of Alvar Gomez Cuesta. Congratulations to him. Making back some retaining some ground in the pit stop exchanges, but it's going to be the big question is when Jürgen Walby comes in and when Esr Enduro comes in, because the top 5 have not pitted. Neither has 7th place, 9th place, 10th place. Looks like Andy Blade's been in. I don't know if Lachlan Nichols has been in. We haven't seen him go in, and he is ahead of Rudy Ruasel, so I suspect he may not have. And the other mystery is Magnus Sternby at the back of the pack. Chris Raymaker still has not managed to get past Wesley Stokes. And I gotta wonder if his pit crew may be better off just calling him to the pits here. Is he gonna go in? He is gonna go in. So he's gonna abandon the fight with Stokes. It looks like Lachlan Nichols was going into the pits ahead of him as well in the other McLaren. Felipe Fejea is relevant to this home race for the first time really this whole race. It's not been a great homecoming for him, but he is up to 10th place, although he still has to pit. We will see where Chris Raymaker comes out of the pits. Darius Zayin was the 4th highest ranked car that has pitted. Two Gulf Oil liveries sandwich for Darius Zaya at the moment. Or Felipe Fejea at the moment, pardon me. Behind the Porsche of Rick Martel and ahead of the Mercedes of Darius Zaya. Rick Martel in the pits. Looks like Chris Raymaker is still in the pits, so a long pit stop from Chris Raymaker. Cross over to Darius Zaya in the row car, back into the top 10, having pitted. He is right on the tail of Alvar Gomez Cuesta, so the pit stop by Alvar Gomez Cuesta has not gone well. He's come out in traffic and is having to fight with Felipe Fejea for position, despite the fact that he's probably on, I'm going to guess, new tires, because he's dropped very far back. You can see that Cesar Moreno's not in the shot either. Mercedes of Magnus Sternby is in there. John Barker, 2nd place currently. He has yet to pit. He is now actually the leader, as Wesley Stokes is in the pits. Also saw Jurgen Walby pit. Walby is in the pits. Sergeant Coley's in the pits. And Taha Mali will be back up at his 2nd place now. Should be anyways. Darius Zevin fighting his way through the field, including Alvar Gomez Cuesta, who's fallen back a spot. No, he is not! The red and black Audi is still there, but the Mercedes, or the BMW, pardon me, is still in the fight. The battle continues between these two for what is 8th right now, but keep in mind, Mike McGracken is still at a position there in 6th place. He has to pit. I can't really imagine he's in this battle. Yeah, he's only 20-some-odd seconds up the road, so yeah, he'll drop back at this. Felipe Fejea, who's in the background of this fight, also is, or not really in the background anymore. He's fallen about 6 seconds, 10 seconds behind. Looks like Fejea is actually in the pit lane now, as I say that. So Fejea has bit the bullet and gone in. John Barker has not. Mike McGracken has not. And that's probably it. We don't really know whether Magnus Sternby has. In fact, I'm going to suggest that he has not, because he's overtaken Lachlan Nichols, which was not a position he was in before. So he might need a pit stop yet. But we know that for sure McGracken and Barker do. Rick Martel putting the pressure on the BMW of Rudy Ruissa, the very American patriotic car for a German driver. Slightly strange combination. And ahead of them it is Felipe Fejea. Alvar Gomez Cuesta losing control! We thought he went in for new tires and explained why it is, but he's lost control, which makes me think he's still on the old rubber. James Butler is now the man we ride along with. Not overly sure why. Well, I guess he's got Andy Blade right behind him, so he's jumped Andy Blade in the pit stops. And now Blade needs to make the ground up again. Looks like McGracken maybe is hit the pit lane. I don't know, actually. I'm quite uncertain. John Barker definitely has. And Wesley Stokes somehow is in the lead. Which makes me think he is not pitted. There was that moment where we thought he pitted, but apparently not. He's got Taha Mali right behind him, so I'm not sure if this long run is really going to do him any good. Well, I don't know. He may come out around Cesar Morano, which would be a top 5 position. So I would say that has worked out. McCracken is rejoined in 11th. Barker is rejoined in 7th. So Alvar Gomez Cuesta has, at the end of the day, lost a spot to Martin Edmonds, a spot to Darius Zeha in the pit stop sequence, and probably, well, actually definitely, as far as definitely, lost a place to Wesley Stokes as well. Alvar Gomez Cuesta on the tail of John Barker, who was also jumping in the pit stop, although I do not believe that would have happened without his spin. Barker and Edmonds have come out and continuing their battle as well, so that's good. Lachlan Nichols in the background with Chris Raymaker. Raymaker is around this group as well. We know that Wesley Stokes was around this group when he did not pit. I think we can probably say for sure that Stokes is not pitted. He is losing copious ground to Taha Mali, though, who is actually he's just absolutely putting the hammer down. And he's extended over 22nd lead over Visar Jacoli, his theoretical rival. Pit stops did not work out very well for the Audi team either, this is for sure. With Alvar Gomez dropping back, and not terribly great pit stop from Mike McCracken either, or Andy Blade. We are approaching 2/3 distance here. Still 18 cars running, as I do believe that Lachlan Nickel is running. In fact, there he is actually in the background there. Still ahead of Chris Raymaker. It's a bit weird that Raymaker hasn't gotten through on the other McLaren yet. Possible problems for Rudy Ruissel, though, who is dropping like a stone. We will see if we can get more details on that. Alvar Gomez Cuesta still on the charge. We know he's got speed. Just had a bit of a moment there, and has gone from battling for a podium to battling to staying in the top 10, depending on where Wesley Stokes rejoins. When he eventually does make his pit stop. I'll tell you who's really won off of the pit stops, though, is Darius Zeha, who's back up into 6th position in the BMW. Possibly a top 5 runner, although I doubt it. I believe Stokes has the gap to come out ahead of him. And Stokes would be a big winner too, as he's run very late in this race as well. The last of the pitters, I do believe Magnus Sternby is the only other one we're not terribly certain of having made a pit stop. And he's running down in 16th position. And I believe we have indeed lost Rudy Ruissel. We'll keep an eye on that, but it looks like Rudy Ruissel joins Luca Gray, Ariel Zattoni, Gonzalez, John Pacheco, and Phil Hance in the retiree box. That would leave us with 17 cars running of the original 23. Alvar Gomez Cuesta is still trying to recover from his spin and bad pit stop. Running in 9th place right now, putting all kinds of pressure on John Barker, who briefly got to lead by running pretty long. Martin Edmonds in the orange Mercedes directly ahead of him. A little bit of contact between Barker and Cuesta. Nothing too significant. Chris Raymaker in the background of the McLaren. Barker retaining position now, and Wesley Stokes still has not pitted. And he may want to pit, because I feel like his tires or something are just absolutely done on that car. He's still got a reasonable gap back to Darius Zeha and a reasonable gap back to Cesar Morano, but Morano is eating away a couple of seconds on him, and of course Taha Mali is taking the lead over him. Visar Jacoli is catching him. Jurgen Walby is catching him. So now might be the time for the Bentley guys to call the pit stop here for Wesley Stokes. This long run has helped him and has probably put him in a top 5 position. But if he runs particularly much longer, like, I mean, he's already lost 1.4 seconds to Mali, who just got past him on this lap. Be a huge deal for him to... yeah, it looks like he is indeed in the pits lane, actually. That would explain it. So Wesley Stokes Looks like he is blinked. Where will he come out? We think he's a top 5 car. But he may not be. This pit may be a lot longer than I'm thinking it is. I was thinking around 50 seconds. Or perhaps we have a broken transponder. Perhaps he's not in the pits. I don't know. Because he should not have come out only 2.5 seconds behind. Maybe he had a moment on track. If we get a shot of the Bentley in second place, that would be fantastic. Because, of course, that's a big pivotal thing, is where he comes out after the pit stop. And we need to know if he went in the pits or if he just had a moment. I think it's probably the latter, but he is losing a ton of ground right now. Alvar Gomez Cuesta on the attack once again against the Audi. John Barker, and this is playing right in the hands of Chris Raymaker, who we know is a very fast car and a little bit out of position in 10th place. A little bit of damage there on the front end, a little bit of puckering around the headlight. He'll need to get onto the attack as well. I do believe that we can confirm the departure from the race of Rudy Ruasel. It appears that the BMW is done, so of the 4 BMWs that started, we have lost 2 of them. Alvar Gomez Cuesta is still trying to make up ground here. Doesn't look like Stokes is pitted yet. I'm questioning the wisdom of this because I don't think he has enough time left to really make good use of anything that he's planning on doing with maybe fresh rubber or a lighter fuel load, because he is losing ground quite rapidly. I mean, mostly to Taha Mali, admittedly, which doesn't matter, he's not racing him, but you can see... Well, no, I guess the gap back to Cesar Morano and Darius Zeha is not actually changing a tremendous amount. So he's okay. It's just Taha Mali is making him look like he's standing still right now. Martin Edmonds off the track into the sand trap. That's going to promote John Barker and Chris Raymaker. And it looks like we may have lost Alvar Gomez Cuesta. Was he involved in contact with Edmonds? I don't think so, because he dropped too far back. He's almost 4 minutes behind now. So we've lost him at some point, I think. Andy Blade dropping a spot there to Mike McCracken. Just outside the top 10. And also to Rick Martel. Wonder if he's made a second pit stop, perhaps. Because McCracken and Martel not overly close together. You can see there in the gap is about 9 seconds between the two. James Butler now has inherited the top 10 position once again. It's been a bit of a rocky race for him. He's on the tail of Martin Edmonds. Edmonds possibly a little shaken up after that trip across the kitty litter. Further back, Andy Blade has dropped down behind Felipe Fejea as well as Magnus Sternby. So I would say definitely a second pit stop for Andy Blade. The question is why? Is he going for a fresh set of rubber? Did something happen during the first pit stop? And of course, could he potentially be serving some kind of penalty? James Butler is on the attack. By the way, this race is starting to kind of come his way to Magnus Sternby, who's up to 14th position, having run around largely at the back most of the day. And I think Alvar Gomez Cuesta is definitely out somewhere stopped on track. Chris Raymaker trying to put the pressure on John Barker. We know that Raymaker probably has a top 6, top 5 car, but things have not come together for him quite today the way he would like. In the meantime, Magnus Sternby has hopped up, I was going to say, hopped up into 11th place, which doesn't really compute in any way. The top 10 cars are still on the lead lap, with Mike McCracken leading the lapped cars in 11th place. And looks like transponder issues for Magnus Sternby as he's moving position relatively quickly. And he was not particularly close to either Fejea or Martel. And in fact, it looks like we've lost Magnus Sternby completely from the timing screen. So an interesting development there. James Butler still trying to hunt down Martin Edmonds, although I think this hunt has probably ended. Wesley Stokes is still not pitted. And I'm really starting to question the wisdom of it, because his lead over Darius Zeha is down to 41 seconds. He's going to need to pit and try and get out in front of Zeha, who is basically his contemporary for that top 5 position, and he has not. We haven't seen where the Bentley is. We haven't seen him. We haven't gotten a look at him, and I would appreciate it maybe if Esr Enduro gets closer to him, if we could see if the rubber is just completely gone. And if it is, I have to wonder why he is not pitted, because he's now 14 seconds off the lead and losing ground to the cars that he is actually racing. James Butler has a timing error going on there that claims that he's about 5 minutes down. I don't think that that is accurate. Chris Raymaker still on the tail of John Barker. Has not been able to make a move on Barker yet. Take a look at Lachlan Nichols running in 14th position. Things are coming to him just through maintaining some consistency and on track. Chris Raymaker still hunting down John Barker in the battle for 7th position. I think we can safely say at this point that Wesley Stokes is not coming out in better than 5th place, unless he did pit and we just missed it and there was some kind of just odd occurrence, because there was that brief bit where he appeared to be standing still, which made me think he was in the pits, but the gap that happened afterwards didn't make any sense. Would have had to be an exceptionally quick pit stop from the Bentley crew. James Butler still shadowing Martin Edmonds, keeping the pressure on him, but I don't think he has the pace to outright make the move happen. Also having some kind of timing glitch on Butler for sure. Esr Enduro has caught Wesley Stokes, so let's see if he goes into the pits this time around. Coming up to the pit lane in the Bentley. Nope, he's going around for another lap. So the mystery of Wesley Stokes continues. Bentleys are not known for fantastic gas mileage. It's rather stunning. In the background, you can see the battle there going on between Mike McRacken and somebody. I don't think McRacken's actually really fighting anyone at the moment, so I think that might just be a lapped car is the other possibility. Whoever it was, they appear to have lost control and gone sideways. We ride on board with Esr Enduro. We don't know if he's really racing Wesley Stokes, but he's losing time behind him. The gap to Jurgen Walby is down to about 7 seconds. And he needs to make our move now, and it doesn't look like the Bentley is fighting him on it. Again, we think Stokes still has to pit. And this marathon run may cost the Bentley if that is indeed the case. A couple other long runs did help some people out. They benefited, but don't think Stokes really is. I think Stokes was one of them had he pitted earlier on. But we're now 23 minutes to go, 23 and a half minutes to go of a 90-minute race. His tires have got to be absolutely cooked if it is indeed the case he's not pitted. Chris Raymaker still on the tail of John Barker, but the gap has opened up a little bit between the two. It's down about 2 seconds. Or 1.5 seconds, more like. James Butler still shadowing Martin Edmonds. Still there. Jacoli has gotten past Stokes, which we did see. We'll see if Jurgen Walby can make quick work of him. The gap there is now about 3 seconds. 3-4 seconds. Chris Raymaker, still a little bit damaged from some early contact. Rounding off the top 10, it is Edmonds and Butler. Butler still has some kind of timing issue going on. Might have been Lachlan Nichols being lapped by Mike McGracken. That may have been what we saw. We have lost Alvar Gomez Cuesta, who looked like he was going to be a possible podium finisher, although a bad pit stop, and some bad things after pit stop to take him out. Rudy Ruisel's out, along with Luca Gray, Ariel Zattoni, Gonzalez, John Pacheco, and Phil Hance. We have also lost Magnus Sternby's transponder, which suggests that he is probably out of the race. Looks like Wesley Stokes has indeed pitted, and I think honestly staying out that long may have cost him a top 5. Because I firmly believe that there was a time where he would come out ahead of Darius Zeha at the least, and possibly even Cesar Maragnou. And I think he just stayed out too long, and has now come up in 8th place behind Chris Ramaker. This battle here between Chris Ramaker and John Barker. Well ahead of Martin Edmonds and James Butler, though, with potentially fresh tires, with a fresher car in terms of fuel load. He's going to be light. Although, to be honest, he's not going to be any lighter than any of the other cars unless someone is underfueled and he's playing a 2-stop strategy, which may be the case. There were a couple of guys who came in very early. But at that point, I mean, I guess the question becomes, do you put on fresh tires and hope that you can make some ground up, and we'll see if he makes any progress throughout these remaining laps. He's, as stated, about 6 and change behind this battle. We will see if he can make up some ground in the coming laps. Fantastic display of running deep into a race. I just feel it was perhaps the wrong strategic call from the M Sport Bentley crew. Lost in all this talk, though, has been a fantastic drive from Taha Mali, who is in the lead by 15.5 seconds over Visar Jacoli. Both of those men deserve complete congratulations, and the best of the non-Audis, Jurgen Walby, currently rounding off the podium ahead of Cesar Maragnou, who's had a bit of a down race. Started on the front row, so it'll be 45 seconds off the lead, and in 4th place is probably not what he envisioned. Darius Zeha's had a very interesting race. It's been very up and down, but right now it's on the biggest upswing it can be. He's in the top 5 ahead of John Barker and this man Chris Raymaker, who's another guy who's had a bit of an up and down race. It looked like he was maybe in a fight for top 5 earlier on. Nothing says that he couldn't be still, although he is about 15 seconds behind Darius Zeha. Wesley Stokes, who we've been talking about a lot due to the interesting strategic call by the Bentley team, is in 8th place ahead of Martin Edmonds, James Butler, Mike McGracken, Rick Martel, Philippe Fahea, Andy Blade, and Lachlan Nichols are the 15 remaining drivers who are still running. Spending a lot of time right now with Chris Raymaker. This is pretty much the closest battle on the track right now. It does look like Jurgen Walby is making some inroads into Visar Jacoli, looking to break up the Audi 1-2. And the hometown fans, no doubt, still screaming for Cesar Maragnou and Philippe Fahea to make up some ground. First race I watched at this track was A1 GP in the final season of A1 GP, the season that was won by Adam Carroll and Team Ireland. So feel free to share your first experience with the Algarve Portimao track. Not really sure Raymaker is showing an ability to really make up any ground here, but they are easily holding pace with Wesley Stokes, who came out of the pits very late. The Bentley that will cross the rise right about now. There it is in the green and the stylish green and white livery of the Bentley M Sport team. I think that's the M Sport livery anyways, or is the M Sport livery the big slash? And this is the... Oh, Lockley Nichols rejoins after an off, it looks like. Raymaker is drawing closer, and they do have traffic ahead of them. It's a BMW of, that'd be Philippe Fehea, the black BMW. Up ahead of them. Running in 13th position. Wonder if that will play into anything. Any Ricardo Zonta, Mika Hakkinen, Michael Schumacher stuff. Or if this fight will be settled behind him or ahead of him. We will see. We are down to 1/6 of the race to go. 15 minutes and change here at Portimao. Battle continuing here with Philippe Fehea. Perhaps going to play a role of a blocker in this fight between John Barker and Chris Raymaker for 6th position. Raymaker in the blue Audi, or in the McLaren there, the orange McLaren. Blue Audi is Barker, and the black BMW up ahead is the lapped car of Philippe Fehea. And he gets out of the way like a classy gentleman driver. Tip of the cap to the hometown man. Top 10 is now starting to be lapped as James Butler has fallen a lap down in 10th position. We believe of the 23 cars that started, we have 15 still circulating. Down to Lachlan Nichols. There is a battle going on now for 2nd place as Jürgen Walby has closed it to about 1.5 to 2 seconds behind Visar Jacoli. And we may join that fight at some point, but right now we're still riding with Chris Raymaker as he's looking to set up for an outside plunge down the... Oh, crossing into the middle! What's he gonna do? Solid defense by John Barker. Speaking of it, we were talking about it. Visar Jacoli is under pressure from Jürgen Walby, who has been one of the drivers of the day for sure. And it looks like Visar is starting to struggle with some grip issues with those tires. Maybe stretching his tires a little bit too far. We'll find out. I think generally the answer to that question is yes, as he goes very wide and lets Walby have 2nd place. back to his livery mate John Barker and his defense against Chris Raymaker for 6th position. Can Jacoli come back? I don't think we've seen anything to suggest that he can in this second stint. Seems to have been plagued by a little bit of lack of pace. Walby seems to be very strong right now. Ranyao and Zaya still rounding off the top 5, followed by Barker, Raymaker, Stokes, Edmonds, and Butler. Rick Martel has overtaken Mike McRacken at some point for 11th position. Arch Nemesis is there. Looks like Andy Blade and Lachlan Nichols may have made up a lap at some point. They're now shown as 1 lap down as opposed to 2. Or this could be just showing it from Raymaker's point of view on the gapping. Indeed, they go back to being 2 laps down. Wesley Stokes, largely unable to make an impression. About 5 seconds in the distance. As they're coming up to Mike McRacken. It's Audi. We rejoin Visar Jacoli as he continues his attempt to hunt down Jurgen Walby for 2nd place. A position he lost a couple of laps ago when he went very wide. Seems to have figured out whatever the problem was and is doing quite well to keep Walby in his sights. John Barker going down the inside of Mike McRacken. And Chris Raymaker will look to do the same. One blue Audi is the hunter, one blue Audi is the hunted. The Barker-Jacoli relationship. And Raymaker has gotten through McRacken and is back into his pursuit of John Barker. Seems like these are the 2 battles that the cameraman is going to give us, and rightfully so. Not really much action in the lead. Taha Mali has largely dominated the field here today. Took the lead relatively early on, opened up a solid gap. A couple of people got to lead while he had made the early pit stop, and that seems to have worked out for him. Although making the late pit stop has seemingly worked out for some as well, so an interesting pit stop dilemma in today's race. Does look like Walby and Jacoli are going a little bit faster than Mali at this point. Maybe paying for that early pit stop, or maybe just pacing himself, knowing that there's not really a reason to stretch the legs and risk the car with 8.5 minutes to go, and a pretty solid 10-second lead. And knowing the 2 cars behind him are probably more interested in fighting with each other than with him at this point. Or not. I suppose interest is the wrong word. And John Barker goes off! Chris Raymaker goes off! Raymaker will take the position, though. There was no contact between the 2 cars. Raymaker just taking evasive action. Barker does rejoin ahead of Mike McRacken. He goes out a bit wide there. McRacken is the lapped car in the green and black Audi. running in 12th position. Question is there anyone who's going to need to splash and dash? They're running out of time if that's the case. You're almost better off figuring it out now than trying to nurse the car for a couple of laps and realize that you need to get that fuel anyways. John Barker still giving chase to Chris Raymaker. Will the Audi driver be able to get it done after making a mistake that let Raymaker past him in the first place? I don't think so. Raymaker has had great pace pretty much all day, and a couple of mistakes and miscalculations have been his problem, and a little bit of victim of circumstances. But I do believe he's got John Barker's number at this point. No real other battles going on right now. It's 10 seconds to Walby. Walby's opened up a 3-second gap back to Jacoli. Morano and Zaya are very much running on their own. Wesley Stokes has lost his position to Martin Edmonds and is now 4 seconds behind him, so I don't think there's really much of a fight going on there. James Butler, it's hard to tell. He's had a timing error pretty much, well, for a long time, claiming that he's in a spot that he should not be. Martel and McGracken are separated by about 12 seconds. Fahey is well back of that. Blade's well back of that. Nichols is well back of that. So yeah, really the intrigue right now is this John Barker versus Chris Raymaker fight over 6th position. Can Barker make a comeback? And I think that probably answered the question as he goes off the track. Taha Mali laps Wesley Stokes. I did not think he would get that far. Martin Edmonds is next on his list. But a fantastic run from the Moroccan driver. Visar Jacoli's hunt for Jürgen Walby, I think, is pretty much done. Walby, a fine performance against a seemingly preferred car in the Audis. For most of this race, there were 4 Audis in the top 5. We, of course, lost Alvar Gomez Cuesta, which is terrible. He was definitely a guy who I think was going to play a role in this whole thing, although he had a bad pit stop. And, yeah. That's really all there has been to say about that matter. Lachlan Nichols recovered from a spin. Still going, though he's now down, I think, 3 laps. Visar Jacoli. Fast lap was a 52.549. You can see on the corner there. He is trying to hunt down 2nd place Jürgen Walby. Trying to hunt down Taha Mali, I guess, at the same time. As actually, they are much closer to him than they've been most of the race. Speaking of Mali, there he is. Just a 42.903 is his fastest lap, so it's not been outright pace. It's just been consistency and be able to get it done, although the gap is shrinking. Visar Jacoli is one of those guys trying to hunt him down. The other is Jürgen Walby. In the Mercedes up ahead that is lapping Lachlan Nichols. Back to Taha Mali. Still in the lead. Taha Mali has been largely unable to pull away from the Bentley of Wesley Stokes since lapping it. Stokes is very much shadowing him. Catching Martin Edmonds in the process, a guy he lost a position to a couple laps ago. We did not see that happened off camera. Not sure if Stokes made a mistake or Edmonds made a superb charge. But this could work out for him pretty well and make this a bit interesting. He's about 2.5 seconds back of Edmonds. stealing a bit of draft from the race leader's car. Even if it doesn't appear that Molly is particularly stretching his legs right now. And also some traffic up ahead in the form of Felipe Ferreira in the BMW. At the same time, it's got to be a bit annoying as he unlaps himself to be behind the guy that lapped you and just seeing him not really seemingly push. Again, there's not really much of a reason to, although he's now lost another 2 seconds to Jürgen Walby. And is now only 6 seconds up. Still, we're approaching the last lap. Next lap will be the last one after this. And, you think he's got it in the bag, but, I mean, you've also got to wonder, is he perhaps nursing the car from a fuel standpoint? Was there maybe a mistake for the race leader in that regard? I mean, there's so many things that this could be. This just could be him taking it easy. This could be some tire wear slowing him down. This could be fuel issues. Martin Edmonds has cleared Felipe Ferreira. Wesley Stokes looking to be the next one to do so. And Ferreira getting out of the way like a gentleman. Seeing pretty good behavior under the blue flags, although Stokes did go a little bit wide there to get the job done. He finds himself losing ground to Edmonds once again now that he's behind Mali, pardon me. Which is kind of weird because it seems like Mali was holding him up, but perhaps just getting a good tow as well. Where Mali is really slowed down now. Unknown at this time. Might be worth it. For Mr. Mali to answer our question. What was up during the later stages of the race? Was it tires? Was it fuel? Was it just taking it easy and laying back? Because the gap now to Walby is under 5 seconds. Now, granted, it's the last lap, so again, there's not a lot of time. But it's a bit of flirting with danger when you have to think that he can probably stretch the legs a little bit. Wesley Stokes, a guy who went with a very off strategy of going extremely long. He pitted around like the 25-minute mark or so. Really pushed it deep to the end of the fuel window. Can't say that it's really worked out for him. Again, I think he's a guy who could have been ahead of Darius Zeha, Chris Raymaker, John Barker, Martin Edmonds with a little bit more optimal strategy. But he's in 9th place, and it's a pretty solid result. He's on the lead lap, at least for now. Might end up down at some point, but I doubt it. Trying to make up ground against Martin Edmonds, and he is. He's actually got the gap down to about under 2 seconds, actually. Jürgen Walby has also got the gap down under 2 seconds, and is very much in sight of Taha Mali. We may have something here. James Butler, that's kind of heartbreaking. On the last lap, James Butler has to come into the pits, and that's gonna end a top 10 bid for the British driver. He was having a fantastic race, and this is gonna be heartbreaking, heart-wrenching for him. But can Jürgen Walby make a charge here? He's run out of time, but we would really be interested to know what our winner, this race winner, Taha Mali, was doing towards the end, because he almost let it slip away, or was it just calculated? So very calculated. Jürgen Walby is in 2nd position. 3rd is going to go probably to Visar Jacoli, unless something really weird happens. Cesar Maragno in 4th position. 5th for Darius Zeha. 6th for Chris Raymaker. 7th for John Barker. Martin Edmonds is under pressure. This might be the last real battle here. This late comeback from Wesley Stokes. Charging in that Bentley. Looks like Rick Martel inherits a top 10 position. A guy who honestly was kind of nowhere, but just showed the fortitude of continuing on and being consistent, even if it wasn't terribly fast, and that turned into a very good result for him. Mike McGracken, a solid result in 11th place. James Butler could have had a top 10 if it wasn't for the end. Felipe Ferreira, Andy Blade, Lachlan Nichols all finished. 16th through 23rd are retirements, I do believe. Wesley Stokes is putting the pressure on against, and it's coming down to the wire. We saw it interesting here with Walby and Mali. We're seeing it again with Stokes and Edmonds. Wesley Stokes is on the charge. These two are the two possibly the two most powerful cars in the grid, and they are fighting it out for 8th position. Not a power track, as you can tell from their positions, but still a fantastic battle. Heading into the final turn, this fast sweeper. Edmonds holds the inside line very well. He's not going to really give any room, but it is not over. Wesley Stokes has got him biting his nails, I think, at this point, but I think Martin Edmonds is going to escape with 8th position ahead of Wesley Stokes. And indeed, Rick Martel will round off the top 10, followed by Mike McGracken, James Butler, Felipe Fajea, Andy Blade, Lachlan Nichols, Magnus Sternby on the DNF wrist, along with Alvar, Gomez, Cuesta, Rudy Ruissel, Luca Gray, Ariel Zatoni. I am sorry, but I cannot pronounce your first name, Gonzalez. John Pachea, and also Phil Hance out of the race. Fantastic run here today, and congratulations to everyone who got through this. This is a 90-minute race, and I am tired just commentating it. So please take a heartfelt congratulations on the matter. We'll catch you next time we're doing commentary. We have the Invitational coming up, and that is going to be at the Slovakia ring. Very interesting track, very, very hard on the left front tire. We will see how that goes.